Okay, so for today's video, I have my most prized possession, my overlocker. This particular one is a FUF. It's a Hobbylock 786, and I didn't bother looking at the year of manufacture. But if I take this tray out, as you can see, it's seen better days. I mean, woof. Nasty. And just to show you the goodies on the inside. So yeah, you can see that there's definitely a difference between. So this is obviously sat in the sun a lot. Now, I did pick this up secondhand, and lucky for me, it was only $100, which for a used overlocker, particularly in Australia, that's cheap. Now, when I picked this up initially, I already had experience with an industrial overlocker. One that was similar to this one. Not similar to this one, sorry. It's a 5-thread, and what I have here is 4-thread, as you would have seen in the opening thing when I showed the behind here. Now, I haven't been happy with how this machine worked. I freaked out, did a ton of Googling online, and discovered that you have to have the bit where the threads go through, so up here, that has to be elevated high, like so. Otherwise, it doesn't work properly, which was something very fun to learn and caused a bit of headache. But that didn't solve my entire problem. See, the other issue I had is that I didn't like how it looked. And I forgot to put the foot pedal on. Hi. All right, so you go down there. You should plug in there. And finally, oh boy. It's going to have to be off to the side. I'll unplug you and I'll plug you in and then turn you on. Man, I really should put that high power supply where it belongs. No, not in the bin, but in my other room. So if I move this across, refocus this. There we go. Oh yeah. I had some dirty crap in there that I was concerned about. Now, if I turn that on, now before I continue, this video isn't for the newbies. If you're trying to figure out, what's the best overlocker to buy? Yeah, not for you. If you are buying a used one and you want to know little things to look out for, this is definitely one video to watch, because I'm explaining how I came across a problem and how I'm going to resolve it, which I'll be doing in this video today. So, put you up. Raise you up. Now, something very important that you should know about overlockers. I call this Mr. Chompy. This thing here. Basically, it's like a pair of scissors that cut fabric. That's it. Why do I call it Mr. Chompy? Why don't we find out? So stick you like there, lower you down. Mr. Chompy takes off the extra stuff and tries to create this buttery smooth Well, in my case, it's not buttery smooth, but it's sticking out. So if I can get this to... Now, the one I'm used to, it sort of sits flat with the thread, but this one's got a definite feel to it, and I had other issues where the line along the center here, it wouldn't always line up, and I discovered that, you know, occasionally when it comes to other places, that's sort of a bit of a thing. Now, I have seen some people on online use things like large needles. Me, on the other hand, I got these from work. This is from a knitting machine, and it's a... Yeah. But effectively, what I was shown to do at work is up and cut, which I didn't do on camera. So I cut it so it's a small tail, poke the needle up, close, and pull. There. I mean, you'd want to cut that off, but you can do the same sort of thing, and you can buy like a needle specifically for pulling like really long distances. But yeah, that I honestly found rather neat. I mean, you could like tie it off, but now for me, back to the thread. Focus. That's bulging out too much for my taste. That's not what I'm trying to go for. So I'll just turn this off. See if that works better. Now, some can argue that, oh, well, you know, that's white on grey, it's going to stick out. But no, that's not. It's how it feels. It doesn't feel right. And sometimes I found when going through and, well, trying to do some stitches, trying to make some clothes, which I did with this machine, I didn't like it. And I spent a long time trying to figure out, oh, well, you know, maybe there's like maybe it's just like a little setting, or maybe it's something else, or... Anyway, at work, we would use these. Now, I asked my supervisor if I could take with this because it was, well, running low. And I have actually used this a fair bit, so it's not been just a, ooh, take home. And no, I have actually used this, so getting this was very useful, I can say that much when sewing, especially learning, because, well, you don't waste your good thread. This is good thread, by the way, but we use these on both the overlockers and the industrial machines. And it took me a while, and I figured out that, hang on a minute, a single thread of this stuff is quite thick. This is actually quite thin. When I took a closer look, I found out that yes, I got a hold of some 200 meter spools. I put them on here, and it sewed it perfectly. Well, at least what I was looking for. Which means the problem is the thread that came with the machine is my problem. It's throwing me off. It made me like it caused a lot of confusion. Now, I did buy 2 of these. I probably should have tried to have gotten 4 of them when I did from the, what do you call it? From the op shop. Unfortunately, that didn't happen, so I don't even know what I'm going to use this stuff for, but it's another thread to have around to just muck around with if I want to practice with stuff. But what is this? Is this, yeah, polyester fiber, so that's just plastic. But it's at least made in a reasonably decent country for products. This, on the other hand, where was this made? Alum, I think that's how you pronounce it. I don't know where it's manufactured. Anyway, this brand and this brand are basically, well, same thing. Same thing. I wanted to buy a couple of these, but the cost is just bleh. These were a little bit more cheaper and they came with a special deal if you buy 4 of them, which is what I've done. So in today's video, I'm going to be switching these over and maybe it'll give you an idea about how to do this yourself. I have asked and I found out that doing this, because work showed me how to do this, it's not a, I'm not in breach of like copying or anything or showing like a trade hidden secret thingy. So what I'm going to do is take my foot off the pedal and turn this to the side. And what I'll do is I'll snip them at its lowest. And something else when you get into overlocking, you will find that there'll always be one spool, or in this case 2 spools, that are shorter than the others, or they'll run out quicker. That's because one side uses more thread than the other, but oops. Now I can't tell what brand these are. This isn't bad thread. I mean, I found it to be quite strong. It's just, this stuff's just too thick. Now if I pull out a little bit, there we go. Now this machine, it's got this extra hole here, so I'm assuming that this is also a 5-thread design. I haven't specifically looked that up, but if that's true, I would have absolutely loved one of those. I want a 5-thread machine. I've had experiences at work with one, and I liked it. The only difference between 5-thread and 4-thread is you've got an extra thread. You only have 1 needle, although you can have 2 needles, but 2 of the threads are then set to create what's called a reinforcement stitch, and that just saves time. Unfortunately, that was $1,500, and this was $100. You can see why I picked this. So anyway, I'm just going to sit these here. Now this machine does also contain a like some little caps, but I got a feeling I should be using them. So I'll take that off. So that's 1. That's 2. Another thing with overlocking, if you're freaking out and you came across this video and for some reason you're still watching it, sometimes the thread may bunch up. So cleaning in between here can help, but that's just, yeah. So what I'll do is, can you see the, yeah, you can see that. So this is the old stuff. Here's the new stuff. And you can see that, if you can properly focus on that, it's definitely thinner. It's smaller. And that's where the benefit comes from. So I'll just pull it tight. Now that's 1 done. And I'm going to do number 2. If you are getting into sewing and you've come across this video to watch, you don't have to buy an overlocker to start off with. It's not it's not something you should first practice with. My definite recommendation would be just a cheap sewing machine, and used in the shops, at least where I am, experience wise, you could probably pick one up for between, under $200. Discount with a chain store in my state, you can pick them up for sometimes $100, maybe a little less for a full-size one. Sometimes you can actually buy smaller ones that are a lot cheaper. I think there's like a $80 Singer miniature thing. That could potentially work, although it'll work a lot better than the cheap $20 ones I've seen, which are absolutely bloody horrible. Yikes. Yeah, but generally be careful. If you want to get into sewing, don't go and buy like the $20 portable sewing machines, they're absolutely terrible. And they may also give you the wrong idea about how sewing machines work. Whereas, I mean, this thing, it's no less of a difference between buying this and a brand new overlocker. The new one's just new. I mean, properly maintained, this thing will last for years. I mean, this thing's probably already years and years old. I mean, for crying out loud, it's got, where is it down here? Well, the thing's so old, it states made in West Germany. I mean, nowadays, when I see stuff, it says just made in Germany, so this definitely is going back a fair distance. Now, I'm just going to pull this up, and I'm going to take that off. And I'm going to try to pull that apart. Oh wait, totally forgot, I got a little hook. So when I have gotten these from work, these are supposed to close neatly. Unfortunately, this one doesn't close all the way. So what would happen is that because it doesn't latch properly, the piece of wool that it's, well, the sheet of wool that it's working on, well, this screws up. And then it's a pain in the ass to resolve. So what happens is they pull these out and they just throw them away. And I'm thinking, ooh. We have a few floating around at work that are used for helping out that are in like better condition. So I've taken these home, I've taken a bit of a play, and all the ones in here, they're working perfectly well. I mean, I just sit there with a needle, pick at them a bit, but yeah, they're great. And something I'd like to try to do is to do a DIY knitting machine. And if I can do it with a bunch of broken of these from work, well, I don't have to buy any, I just have to wait. Come on. Do I actually need to take that plate out as well? It's going to be a pain in the ass. Yeah, I probably distracted myself a little too much. But basically the idea is to undo oh wait, no wonder that sort of kicked off. Okay, that's out. So what I'll try and do is grab a hold of this. Oh no. And I'm just going to slowly pull it through the machine. I'll just pull that down so you can see. So you can see the knot here. And just gently pull it through. And say that one's done. Now with this one, because it's sitting here, it should be okay for me just to gently pull it through. Now you will get some resistance with the tension discs, which are these up here. Don't go and start yanking on it, just gently pull. There's no need to rush. That's me talking, and it's not a very good thing to say because, yeah. Now, these needle ones are going to be a bit of a problem, so I'm going to try to lower the needle down. And I'm going to pull on both, which isn't a good idea. No. Definitely not a good idea. So I'm going to grab my needle, my hook, sorry. Try to separate these two. And say, oh crap, because I just pulled them out. And be very thankful because these come down and they're separated from left to right. So I don't have to worry too much about which thread goes where. I can just pull it through. got that one through the tension disc. Continue pulling. All right, now I've got to try and thread this. So it's always a good idea to have a nice pair of snips on you. Some people will lick and then pull through the thread, but I don't need to worry about that. So if I move that back just a little bit. As you can see, this operation does use a lot of sewing thread. A lot of thread. So keep that in mind, that if you want to save and not use so much sewing thread, yeah, throw that idea out the window. And now I pull the last one through. Click and click. All right. Now I put this through the last one. Now, if you do get to the point where you massively screw up, most overlockers I've seen will have a cheat sheet here, if it's in good nick. If it's not, look online. If you've got it, definitely look at your manual, because that should explain everything. It should, if you've got it, and some people don't, which is a real shame. And I'm just going to try to stick that through the hole. All right, maybe need to cut it again. Oh, almost got it. It's in there at least. Ow. I suppose you could call this like reverse parking with a vehicle having a trailer attached, because yeah, I have not tried that, and my experience of reverse parking is oof. It is not easy. So I'll grab my little hook again. And I'll go yay, because it is through. So pull that through a little bit more. Now there is no yeah, battery's running out, so that's going to be fun a little later on in this video. If I slot that, oh, I don't want to muck that up. Okay, that's clean. Okay. So I stick this on, and you can see Mr. Chompy better here, but not really because of the angle. So I stick this back on. And now I'm going to pull all three. Set that down, close that up, turn it back on again, and I'm going to run this side through. So up, down, still not under properly. Yeah, it is a rather tedious operation, that. So already, I can't tell if it's focused. Already, looking at this in person, it's less bulged. So if I grab this, line these two up, and run this through like so. Yeah, see, to me, well, on camera you might not be able to tell the difference, but there is a difference. So if I open this one up, so this is the right one. I mean, you're not going to really tell any difference between this. If these were all closed off and you didn't have to, you didn't see it, it was like folded over, sewed again, you wouldn't tell. But this was only something noticeable when I was sewing. Actually, you might be able to, so if I give that like little tug there, does this one do it as well? Yeah, see, here you go. You can see it's more bunched up, where this one, it's not as bunched up. That was another issue I was having, which would have been more noticeable, sorry, with the pajamas I made. And yeah, that's it. So when I got this, there was a problem. I didn't like how it was, well, how the end result of overlocking. Turns out all I had to do was just change the thread. And that's the difference between going in, spending $100, getting a used overlocker for a few $100s, and then taking it in because something's not right. It's sometimes something simple. And to balance this off a little bit, what I'm going to do is close this machine down. So what I'm going to do is lower the Whoop. All right. Whoops. Well, this was just a sample, so I'm just going to throw that out. The same with this. Okay. That is a video I've had plans for a long time. And here's the trick. See, I didn't want this all bunched up. See how it's all nice and neatly pulled through? I mean, you could pull these up, wind them up a bit, but great. Hopefully this will be ready for my next project. I'm going to call this video quits and say yibbity yibbita.